Hello and welcome to Sideways. This week we're talking about the merits of having a routine, how it helps us through difficult periods, and why planning regular positive activities is the perfect antidote to a life of chaos and self-destruction. Martin does a little-known impersonation, bemoans the loss of his fingerprints, and, although he shares my fond memories of dipping fingers into hot wax, he stops short of what comes afterwards. We debate the worst things we've ever eaten and reminisce about delinquent rescue dogs. Routine. You got your microphone switched on this week?
I have, yeah. I thought you might mention that.
Well, when I was editing last week's episodes and it sounded all echoey and strange, I thought something's gone wrong here. And then
seriously wrong. And
you said all my settings are the same. I expect all your settings were the same, but your settings won't make much difference if you don't turn it on.
Well, no, exactly. No, it was a bit weird, wasn't it?
Makes a change for me not to be the one making a technical error. I
know, yeah. Well, I did cough to it straight away by putting it on Facebook, and I put the link to this episode on there to say that I foolishly forgot to turn on my main microphone.
You're so hopefully a bit croaky.
I think it's just early morning. That's all. Yeah. My voice is always deeper in the mornings.
You could do voiceovers.
Yeah, I could do Barry White, couldn't I? Certainly, if I wanted to. But yeah. So it's early morning, so don't start. I haven't talked to anyone yet. This is my first conversation with anyone.
I think you're more Barry Fry than Barry White.
Yeah, all right, son. Yes, I probably am. Yeah, I've never tried a Barry Fry impression before. It wasn't that good, was it? Really?
It's not a widely done impression, is it?
No, it's not really. No,
I've not heard John Culshaw doing it.
No, you wouldn't get Alistair McGowan go on stage and do a Barry Fry, really. But there we go. It's only amongst the people that like football in the sort of lower echelons of football as well, isn't it?
Well, Mike Yarwood.
Mike Yarwood. No, there was a proper impressionist, wasn't it?
He wasn't. I think we've spoken about him before, haven't we? Because when all the kind of new breed of impressionists came along, you kind of realised how terrible he was, didn't you?
You did, but I think we spoke about him before because he drifted into alcoholism, didn't he?
Probably because you realised he wasn't very good at impressions.
Yeah, well, quite, yeah. So he got himself into a right pickle with the drink. So, yeah, I think we did mention him on that basis before. I think he was in our comedians' top 11 addicts section. Anyway, before we drift on too far, before we start to talk about what we're here for, the subject matter I want to talk about this week is the benefits of a routine. Now, it's often discussed in our groups because it's one of those common factors that's associated with active addiction, which is the complete lack of any structure in our lives. I mean, personally, I remember being so out of kilter that I was unsure. Well, certainly I was always unsure what day of the week it was. I mean, that's fairly common still, really. I mean, lockdown brought that back quite sharply into focus, and we didn't know what day it was. But sometimes I remember not knowing what year it was. I remember writing down the date, and I wasn't sure what year it was, which was bizarre. I know during that my lost decade, I didn't really know where I was. But on a daily basis, I remember not knowing whether it was day or night. You know, my life was a constant round of sort of drink comatose. It's a bit like, remember that track by, I think it's Fatboy Slim, that did Eat, Sleep, Rave, Repeat. Remember that?
I do, yeah.
You remember that? Yeah, well, I think people had T-shirts with it written on everything. My life was sort of drink, sleep, anxiety, repeat, which is not so good on a T-shirt, really, is it? But
I think that I'd have preferred that on a T-shirt. I think. If I'm honest.
Yeah. No, I would have as well. People would have said, "Well, what's all that about?" There would have been a conversation started, wouldn't it? You wouldn't just be following the crowd, which I know you hate to do anyway.
Exactly. I was just wondering, though, when you were saying that, I can understand how the chaos of addiction would strip you of all routine. But I might be wrong about this, but I've always kind of had in my mind that there are kind of ritualistic and therefore routine-like elements of addiction. You know, like, I mean, we've spoken about some of them before, like where you get your drink and the drink you drink and perhaps it doesn't extend to as far as the times that you drink, but there must be kind of negative, destructive routine elements to your life when you're in addiction.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's nothing healthy about any sort of routine you have. It's a survival routine, but it lacks any positive structure at all, which is really what I wanted to touch on. When moving into a positive structure has such a big benefit, in wide-ranging benefits, and it's not just people coming out of addiction, but for everyone. But before we get into the meat of it, a couple of quick points. I've lost my fingerprints this week, which is a bit weird. And
you've lost your fingerprints?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, well, certainly on my right hand. Yeah, which is a bit weird because I've been working at a property. We've been working on an empty property, which is where I should be away next week working on it. And there's a lot of sort of sanding by hand needed to be done. Something we couldn't use the sanders. And when you do that, you sort of I've sort of sandpapered away my thumbprints, and I can't open my phone up anymore, right? And I can't. And those apps where you need your thumbprint on there, I can't do my online banking without going through. And I can't remember my passwords. It's been a schmozzle.
At least you'll save some money.
Well, I don't know. I can't go in to check my banking to see if anyone's been nicking loads from it. So I don't like it. I don't know if you've ever lost your fingerprints before, but it's not helpful in these days of technology where we need them so much.
Well, I can answer that. I have lost them, but not my. As you say, your thumbprint tends to be one that's key, doesn't it? Because most of us hold our thumb over that little bit on our phones to open apps and so on. Open our phone. My tendency is to lose the prints on my fingers when I've been playing the guitar a lot, because they just become hard and shiny and almost like I've got a plastic finger like Tony Iommi.
Yeah, you do get sort of almost calluses on your fingers, don't you?
Yeah, it's quite nice because then you can, when you drum on a hard desk, it sounds as if you've got plastic tips to your fingers. Like if you'd put melted wax on the end of your fingers. I mean, everyone's done that, haven't they?
As a kid, you always dip your fingers in the melted wax. Don't you?
Yeah, I'd still do it now if there was a candle in front of me.
Yeah, I know. It's a very slight bit of pain, but it's worth the fun element is worth it.
And then peel the wax off and eat it.
No, I don't. I've never eaten wax. But everyone to their own, I suppose.
You looked a bit alarmed then when I said that.
Who would want to eat wax?
Nice.
Kids eat all sorts of things, don't they? We used to eat that glue at school that was that smelt of marzipan. It was just terrible.
Didn't you used to eat the red wax off a piece of Edam cheese?
No.
What's the worst thing you've ever eaten deliberately?
Probably a fag butt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when you're drunk, though, isn't it? It's when you're drunk.
Out of an ashtray for a bet. Yeah,
we've all done that, haven't we? We've all done that.
Yeah.
What about when you're sober?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it, mate. No.
When I was a kid, I used to.
Wasabi nuts. Definitely.
No need to get personal.
So you're leading on to tell us something you deliberately ate that was awful, was it?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I don't know if you remember, but in the butchers, if your mum went to buy some kidneys for dinner, they used to come in the kidney fat, and I used to like eating. I used to like eating the kidney fat, the fat from round lamb's kidneys. And I used to wonder what the strange taste was, and it wasn't until I got old and realised what kidneys did that I realised it was piss that I was tasting. Sheep's piss.
Sheep's piss and chips, please, mate. Yeah, they don't serve that up, do they? In the fish and chip shop? No.
I reckon that's probably one of the worst things I've ever eaten.
It sounds disgusting, but talking of butchers, it sort of leads me on to this to the next point. I just wanted a quick before we start. There's a story that caught my eye this week. I don't know if you saw it. About a dog called Millie down in Hampshire, which she slipped her lead and ran off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then she was missing for about 4 days, and she's finally found. They spotted her on the mud flats down near Portsmouth.
Yeah,
and she was in danger of being swept out to the sea by rising tides. And the firefighters and coast guards couldn't get to her; it's too muddy. And so they tied some sausages to a drone, didn't they? Aldi sausages, apparently, all cooked up all nicely, and flew them out to her and tempted her back onto higher ground. But then when she got back onto higher ground, she ran off again.
Yeah.
But she ran off inland, and they managed to capture her eventually. But
she probably wanted something else. After the sausage, she probably wanted a bit of chicken or something.
Well, or something to wash it down with. Yeah, she wanted to drink, didn't she?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it reminded me, didn't? And I might be remembering this wrongly, but didn't that rescue dog you had back in the 80s, Toby? Didn't he run off and turn up at home?
Constantly.
Yeah.
Constantly. He used to take him up the heath for a walk. And the first time it happened, he saw a postman across the heath and went chasing after a postman. Disappeared, and I thought, that's it. You know, because rescue dogs are notorious for running off because, you know, they're not used to sticking close to their owners. No. And he disappeared, and I looked for him everywhere. And in the end, I went home, and he was sitting on the doorstep outside the house, waiting for me. And I'll tell you what the strange thing about that was. We'd driven up there in the car, and he'd never walked to the heath before.
That's crazy, isn't it? It's a bit of a stretch to get home.
Absolutely mad. But I mean, he did it often. He'd just take off. He was mental. And of course, in those days, he was my first dog, so I didn't really know how to deal with a dog. I mean, now I'd have kept a dog on a long line. I wouldn't let it off.
No.
Which is what I was thinking about the owner of Millie. I thought, well, why are you mind you, the dog, I think, slipped its collar, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
Get yourself a harness, I was thinking.
Well, I just remember Toby, because whenever I used to come round, he used to charge straight into my nuts. He used to fell me. He used to butt me straight in the cobblers, and I was down.
That was one of the first things I trained him to do.
I was going to say, I think there was some intent there from his owner that sorted that one out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's first thing, get him to sit, then get him to run into Martin's nuts. Just for a bit of amusement.
Yeah, it was a painful experience. I think I considered a cricket box just to come round for a cup of tea round at your place.
He used to double you up, didn't he? It was brilliant.
He did, yeah. Well, he was a big dog. He was strong. There's no doubt about that. Anyway,
good lad, good boy.
Anyway, should we get back onto our
can we?
benefits of a routine business? I mean, when I was doing the research on this, I found some great info on a website called headspace.com. I don't know if you've ever looked at that before.
I know it well.
And they were talking about the researchers have found that having a routine can have quite far-reaching psychological benefits. And it can alleviate some of the symptoms of some quite serious mental health issues, such as bipolar disorder, ADHD and insomnia. But massively, which is more relevant to us in addiction, is the relieving stress and anxiety, which you don't think of it as being something simple like that, really, to put in place, can have such a major positive effect.
Well, if you think about what routine is, the great benefit with routine and anxiety is that if you know what's coming, you don't tend to feel so anxious. So
true.
So, you know, as rigid as your routine is, if you think, well, I know it's Sunday, I do this now, and then this afternoon I'll do that, and then tomorrow I'll be doing something else. What you lose in kind of spontaneity, you gain in a sense of kind of comfort and certainty that you have an idea about the way the world is spinning. So I think that's why it helps in that way.
I think it does help. And I think I don't know about you, but I think I've become more routinized as I've got older, really. I think it's more comfort you get. I know people take the mickey out. I remember my uncle used to have this routine where there was no flexibility to it at all, which what I want to come on to later on. You know, it's suddenly you'd be having a family party and he'd suddenly get up and say, no, I've got to go and do my ironing now. And it was that rigid, you know, he had to go home. He didn't need to do it until the next day, but he had this routine. Yeah. So I think there's, and he was sort of getting on at that stage. So I think perhaps we do become more reliant on routine as we get older. I
think that's probably true. And I think the other thing that happens as we get older is we care less about what other people think.
Right. Okay.
So, you know, if I decide that I want to go to bed at 9 o'clock at my age, then that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Whereas, you know, my younger days, I probably would have bowed to the peer pressure of staying up,
Yeah.
Or, if you're away or if you're on a work do or something, people say to you, oh, come on, just stay for a drink, stay for one more drink. And you kind of feel the temptation, I better do that because otherwise they'll talk about me when I'm gone, or I'll create a bad impression. And I think as you get older, you think, no, I don't care. I'm tired. I'm going to bed, or at least I do.
Yeah, that's it. Turf everyone out of your front room. Go on, off you go home. I'm going to bed now.
Yeah. Well, best try not to have them in your front room in the first place would be my advice.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, there was this on this, again, going back to this site. There was one of the clinical psychologists on the site said that, and I'm just going to quote him and see what you think about this, which he was talking about relieving stress and anxiety again. To manage anxiety, you need to consistently check in with yourself about what you're worrying about, then address it. Just as we create routines with exercise for our physical bodies, we should do the same for our mental health.
It's interesting that.
Obviously, I haven't run that by you before. I just wondered if there's anything you wanted to add or disagree with on that.
I've got two thoughts about that. No, I don't think I disagree with that. I've got two thoughts about it. I think there's a kind of fine line between checking in with yourself in terms of your mental health and your anxiety and becoming fixated on it to the extent that you can't really see anything else.
Okay.
So I think if you're able to self-regulate in that way where you say, how am I feeling? I'm a big fan of checking in with yourself and asking yourself how you're feeling and being able to put a kind of specific word on that feeling. And if it's anxious and you're able to say, okay, what am I worried about? And you can work out for yourself what it is that's making you anxious and that helps you to calm down, then that's great. But I think the problem is that sometimes when people feel anxious, they just get into this kind of constant loop of feeling fearful, not being able to get out of it, not really understanding why, and just concentrating on their fear, which obviously isn't quite so good.
No, I mean, he goes on to say that one way to deal with this, this checking in business is really to have to schedule some thinking time into your day, and to think through any problems or worries instead of letting it sort of build up, and which then causes issues, which is obviously as addicts, or as an addict, when I was active, I would have, at that point, I would have just gone straight to drink or drugs, and that would have been it, to try. I didn't want to think about it. And so scheduling a point into the day and think, I'm going to sit down and have some thinking time here. So if there are any problems, I will think about them and deal with it rather than letting them build up.
I'm a massive fan of that. I think that's
okay.
One of the most effective ways to combat something like insomnia or just any sleeplessness, it's quite often one of the reasons that people are kept awake is because their mind is racing with anxious thoughts. They're, thinking about something that happened the previous day, or they're thinking about something they've got to do the following day, and ruminating on those thoughts is what keeps them awake. So I think it's a good idea to, if you're going to worry on your terms when you're ready to. So the idea of kind of sitting at 7 o'clock in the evening and saying, okay, let me just review the day. Let me think about what's coming up tomorrow, gives you the opportunity to kind of head off anxiety at the pass. So whilst it might not stop you then thinking those same anxious thoughts when you go to bed, you will have taken some of the sting out of them because they won't be coming to you for the first time. You'll be able to say to yourself, okay, it's that thought again. I thought about that earlier. So whatever you can do to take some of the sting out of that thinking, I think is a good idea. And I think, setting aside some time to think about the things that are worrying you or that are upsetting you or making you feel anxious is a really good policy. And of course, that is routine.
It is, yeah. It's sort of building that into the routine, so you do have that time. And I think that expanding that slightly by using some of that time as well to do your daily journaling, which we often advocate for people coming into recovery. There's a number of reasons that really, but putting that when you're struggling with anxiety, taking it out of the head and putting it onto paper, or to think in that period you scheduled in effectively, is always a good idea. I know I did it in my early days of recovery. I found that quite therapeutic and quite cathartic to be able to write these things down. And so, and you can, it gives you a reference point that you can see how your anxiety is perhaps lifting over a few days or a few weeks and a few months, certainly in recovery, where that certainly has an effect of being away from the madness as you're moving away from the madness. There's a calming effect of that, and you can chart it. You can see how your anxiety is changing, because you're no longer putting the poisons into your body.
I think that is one thing that it is good to do at the same time every day if you can. There are exercises like morning pages, which are done as soon as you wake up. So you wake up and you write 3 pages of whatever's going on in your head, just free form. Don't worry about punctuation, spelling. Don't even worry about what the thoughts are. Just get them out. And I know a lot of people find that really very, very helpful, just kind of unloading at the beginning of the day. And it then enables them to clear their mind before they get into the substance of the day. It doesn't work for everybody, but I think journaling is one of those things, you need to try it. You need to see if it's something that helps you. And as with anything, as with any routine, you can't really ascertain for yourself whether it's useful or not until you have established it. A routine isn't, I've done it twice, that's it. You have to stick at it for a bit. So you do have to have a little bit of tenacity in order to see if any of these things are actually helpful for you.
I agree. I think it's the same with many things, isn't it? That it's the practice of it that it becomes more useful, rather than, especially if you sort of resent it initially. You think, I don't want to do this. This is a pain. But gradually building it in, and it starts to become then you can start to see the benefits of it. It's not a one-off hit. You're right. It's something you need to like meditation.
Yeah,
do it once and think, that's it. I feel really relaxed now. It just doesn't work that way. You have to work at it and keep doing it, and you find your own way through meditation.
Yeah, doing something routinely creates habits, and good habits, positive habits, are the things that pull us through when we're struggling in other ways. It doesn't really matter what the habit is, but if you know that it's good for you, even when you're feeling very low, or even if you're feeling ill. I mean, last week I was feeling like death, but I still wrote my blog because that's what I do.
Yeah.
And it probably didn't make much sense, and it was shorter than usual and everything else. But at that point, it's not so much for other people as it is for me. It's just, this is something that reminds me that whatever's going on, there is also normality at its foundation. So whether I'm physically ill or feeling emotionally worn out, being able to find those kind of touchstones of normality are the things that I think keep you stable.
They do. And I think there's a phrase also on the Headspace that I quite liked, which goes on to say, modern life, increasingly defined by unpredictability, can be anxiety-provoking, and routine provides an anchor of predictability. I think, and it's comfort, isn't it, when we do have that predictability?
Yeah, because routine is a bit of an illusion, because as we've discussed many times before, there is no such thing as certainty. But one of the ways in which routine really helps us is that it does give a very strong illusion of certainty. Yeah. If you know that this is something you do every day. So for instance, I know that I walk the dog every morning and I walk the dogs every lunchtime. So that's my routine. So when I think about my week, I don't know what's going to happen in the week, but I already have in my mind that those things are things that are going to happen, and they're points of stability on the one hand. And the other thing they create is a sense of certainty that life is continuing, and I'll kind of still be here doing the same thing next week, even though none of us know whether we will or not, really.
No, quite. And I think that, when you're looking at routines and well, meditation as well, there's some great apps around to help you with these things. Not that I can get into mine at the moment because my thumb's flat, but so you can use a little bit of technology to help you, especially with the journaling. I know there's some quite good apps around for help you during your first year of sobriety.
It's quite funny. It's ironic, isn't it? You can't get into an app that will help you calm down because your thumbs are too flat.
It's not a massive issue, but I don't want it to get into one. I don't want it to be I don't want to cause that anxiety for myself.
No,
I know in time they grow back.
It's making me feel better. So
is it?
Think of it like that.
Well, other people's discomfort. You're feeding off other people's discomfort. In this case, mine. Well, I think you're a disgrace to your profession.
I'm allowed to
How
do that.
about
In my
that?
spare I'm allowed to do that in my spare time.
Oh, yeah. When you're off duty, yeah. So, which is all good, you know. It's nice, but having a routine. But how do we go about setting one up? Or have you got any suggestions? I've got some suggestions that again I found on one of the websites I was looking at. If there's anything you would suggest if people need to get into a routine, is there any tips or hints? Or shall I crack on with?
You go on. You crack on with them. Go on.
And you say what if you agree with them or not? Because
all right,
some of them,
that's a good idea.
Okay. The first one it said was to sit down with a pad of paper and write out everything you do each day over the course of a week, then see what you can cut out or reduce.
That's interesting. Why are you cutting stuff out and reducing it? I wonder.
I don't know. Perhaps if you're finding you've got a very full schedule and you don't think you've got any time to do anything.
Yeah.
I've never tried that. It seems, I don't know, on the basis of it, I suppose it seemed fairly sensible, but I can't imagine doing it.
No, I can't imagine. I think I'd freely admit that this area is probably a bit of a blind spot for me because I'm so routine focused.
Yeah.
You know, I'm such a creature of habit. It's quite difficult for me to imagine not being. You know, it's when you don't do something, I think it's sometimes easier to imagine yourself into a position where you could create it. But for me, routine is like, well, I don't know how anyone can live without routine. So that idea of kind of sitting down and writing down everything I do in a week, well, it would just look like a routine.
Yeah, well, because you've already established one.
Exactly.
I think what they're looking at here is how we go about it, because it goes on to say, see what you can then set as a normal routine, something you do at the same time each day or the same set time each day.
The way I would approach it would be to say, if I were sitting down and writing down the things that I do, I would be writing down the things that I know that I want to continue, the things that I enjoy doing or I know that are good for me. Actually, I probably need to enjoy doing them because just knowing that they're good for me isn't going to create a routine for me. So start there. Start with, right, these are the things that are in my life and I want them in my life. And if you can kind of create a routine from them, then so much the better. It doesn't matter how small it is. You know, as I said before, I'm very much a creature of habit. I could write down, well, I know that every morning I have a nice cup of coffee and I really enjoy it. I can write that down. That's okay. I can start there. I think it's the most important thing with anything like this is to start tiny. You don't have to suddenly, move yourself from chaos to strict routine. You just need to make sure that there are a few little anchors in your life that you enjoy, that are good for you, that have a positive impact on you, that you can kind of turn into something habitual. I think that's probably where I would start with it.
The next point it goes on to, it says, once you have a routine, give it a little time and it will start to feel like second nature. And I think I can draw on the experience of doing these podcasts, for example.
Yeah,
I have a routine. It's set into it wasn't there before we decided to do one. But I have a routine when I do my research and when we do the recordings. We have normally done them on a Sunday morning, which we're doing now. And I know that got slightly out of kilter when the new puppy came along. But it's nice to have back in the old routine. There's a certain comfort about it. Yeah,
I think the benefit of creating something routine like that is that when you are thrown off, well, at least this is the way I experienced it. When we had to kind of change things around when Nellie arrived, it wasn't so much a case of, I don't know if I can keep doing this. What happens when you establish a routine is, well, that's what I do. So I have to find a way around it. Yeah. It ceases to be a case of, I might just let this go now because something's difficult or something's getting in the way. And it becomes a case of, this is what I do. I've got to find the solution. And I think that's the value of routine and habit.
Yeah, I think it is. But I think it's also, if you do put a routine together and you find it isn't working, don't be afraid to change it. I think that's a good point as well.
Yeah.
Just you can tweak it. And I think it goes on to say, one of the quotes, it says that from that particular website, it says, once you've established a routine, the merest of tweaks can totally revitalize your day. And I wasn't quite sure what it meant then. And I was trying to think about it. I think just sometimes a slight change for the routine can be quite uplifting, can't it? If it's something which it's the same with everything. If you have a routine which you do, say, I don't know, professional athletes or footballers, or they have a set training routine, can become quite stale if you're doing the same thing. And so tweak it, change it around within the routine schedule, and you'll find that it has a benefit to you.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, it's quite routine for you to mention football in this podcast, isn't it?
I nothing specific there. I was going to try and avoid it. You can edit it out so it just says athletes, if you like, if you're going to get that pernickety about it. If you put a little bit of effort into perhaps organising a routine, I think when you look back on it, you're sort of grateful you've put the effort in to do it.
Is that a segue?
It was, yeah. I was trying to think on my feet there. It was a bit clumsy, and now you've pointed it out. I can't claim it as being a smooth transition, but
I think it was a pretty smooth transition, really.
It's not too bad. But
I'm just going to check my list here to make sure I haven't got anything else I want to say about routine.
Okay. But you haven't actually made a note or two, have you?
I was sitting here waiting for the call to start. I kind of came online a little bit early. I thought, what can I do that would be useful? I thought I could have a think about routine. Okay. But as it turns out, I think we've covered everything.
Okay. So there's nothing you want to slide in there before we get on to gratitude lists?
I think there is. Routines are good. That's all I want to say.
Okay. Well, your notes are quite extensive there, I can tell. You've had to dig deep to find those. But I just wanted to, just on gratitude, because my gratitude list is very much associated with what we've been talking about. So I wanted to go first, if that's all right.
Of course.
Because I'm grateful for having a work routine after the Christmas break.
Oh yeah, I bet a lot of people feel like that.
Yeah, getting back into that routine where I know what I'm doing at a set time. Although the job is constantly changing, which I quite like, but it means I know what I'm organising before the next day. What I've got to do, and it's nice to be back into that routine.
So you're grateful for getting back into a work routine, even though it's cost you your thumbs.
Well, yeah, I hope it's happened before. It's short term; they grow back.
What happens if they don't?
Well, I'll just become a cat burglar or something. You know, I mean, there's other ways of dealing with that situation.
Yeah, but you still won't be able to get into your online banking, will you?
No. Well, I'll be banged up because I won't be very good at it, so I won't need a bank account.
Can't you reset your phone so it recognises one of your fingers or something?
Or something else, yeah.
Or your toe.
That'd be quite good in the shop when you're trying to do Apple Pay or something. Hang on a sec. Take your socks and shoes off and pop your foot up on the counter and just press your... No, it's not going to work, is it, mate? No. I just got to wait for it to come back. I've just got to type in the passwords if I can remember them as I go.
Okay. Well, okay, so my gratitude this week is, as you know, I've been feeling a bit poorly, and I feel grateful for all the clients, people who read my blog, my newsletter, who've sent me little messages saying, I hope you get well soon. I know it's not massive, but it's really nice when people send you a little message. They don't have to. They take a kind of couple of moments out of their day to say, I hope you feel better. And I feel very humbled and grateful for that this week. So thank you to everybody who said that. Yeah,
I don't think I did.
Yeah, you did actually.
Did I? Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, in your usual sort of a grudging way. Let me just see. What did you actually say? You did tell me that I wouldn't make a shortlist for a village idiot at one point quite recently.
I don't know why I said that.
It wasn't very kind.
No.
That was when I was not very well either.
Yeah, I think I was trying to cheer. I was trying to lighten your mood. I think that's probably what it was. And abuse seems to work quite well.
I can't find it now, but I think you did say.
I think I probably did. I mean,
you said to me, I can't read that one.
Oh, all right, okay.
But you did say, hope you feel up to recording soon. So I suppose, as you know, generally speaking, that's about as empathic as you get, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah. A bit sloppy for me, really, but yeah. So anyway, I just Spotify, on the Spotify search playlist. It was
routine.
Yeah, it's quite a tricky one, really. There was one. There's an instrumental track just called "Routine" by someone called Los Bungalow, which I quite like the name of him.
Los Bungalow.
But, yeah, or the group Los Bungalow. But it wasn't a very good track. There was one called Cat's Bedtime Routine. It was on an album called Relaxing Sounds for Cats Volume 3, which it was just basically a gentle repeating piano riff, which obviously cats must like. I don't know, but I do know someone that's very keen on his cat, and he plays him bedtime music and relaxing music. He gets them from rescue centres.
Does he? Was there a track on that album called "Go and Shit in Next Door's Raised Beds"? Because if there is, they're obviously playing that to their cats next door. Well,
I think you're. I know you're not so keen on cats as you are as dogs, but
no.
there's a whole range of relaxing sounds for cats on there. But this is volume 3, so there's obviously another couple of volumes in case the cat gets bored, in case the cat needs to change its routine a little bit on what he's listening to. Anyway, that's not going on there. What I did put on, which I did put a track on by a group that I've already had on before, which is Idlewild. And they've got a track called Out of Routine. So I'm putting them on. So I think they're the first group that have made the Spotify search list twice.
I hope that's not an indication that you're getting a little bit lazy.
No, it's just purely absolutely... it's just the way it came out. I only put Idlewild tracks on from here on in. Wouldn't be good, would it?
Won't be much of a playlist, will it?
No, it wouldn't. So that's about me, mate. To be honest, is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just hope your thumbs come back at some point, but not too soon.
Me too, mate. Yeah, well, you want to see me suffer in the meantime.
I can't get that mental image of you struggling with your phone, not being able to open it out of my head, and it's really tickled me.
Well, good. Please, I've cheered you up, pal.
All right.
And I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, see you later.
All right. Cheers, mate. Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.